everyone, thanks for joining us today for Healthy Meals on a Budget. Today's recipe is called broccoli and tomato casserole, and it goes along with our holiday casserole theme for December. My name is Laura Sheffield, and I am the Health and Nutrition Director at Community Action Council, and I'm also a registered dietitian. So let's get started. For what you need for your broccoli and tomato casserole, you need 2 cups of broccoli, or 2 pounds of broccoli, excuse me, and part of this has already been cut up and chopped. And we're gonna show how to chop it up with this piece. You need 1 onion, 2 medium tomatoes, you need 2 tablespoons of breadcrumbs, you'll need some milk. Almond milk or regular milk is fine. Almond milk is just less calories and less fat. You'll need some mozzarella cheese, cornstarch, and paprika, ground pepper, and salt to go in it as seasonings. Alright, so first we're going to finish cutting up our broccoli. Actually, first what we're going to do is add water to our pot because we're going to be steaming the broccoli. So steaming is different than boiling. Steaming, you put about a 1/2 inch of water at the bottom of your pan, get it to a boil, add your broccoli or whatever vegetable you're steaming to the pot, make sure it boils again, cover it, turn it to a simmer, and that's when it's going to, the broccoli will steam for 4 minutes. So you can first start by cutting off the big chunky part of the broccoli, and it all kind of just falls into place here. You can cut the pieces, you can keep them as big or as small as you'd like, personal preference. I tend to cut more of the stem off, but if you like the stem, leave it on. And broccoli is really rich in vitamin C, which is good for our immune system and keeping us healthy. It's great for vitamin K, which is good for our bones. And it has a lot of folate or B9, which is good for decreasing depression and prevents cancer. And it also has potassium, which controls and regulates our blood pressure. So now that our broccoli is heated up, we're going to make sure our water gets to a boil. So I got about a 1/2 inch of water at the bottom of my pan. It's going to come to a boil and I'll add my broccoli. But in the meantime, we're going to cut up our 2 medium tomatoes. So tomatoes have lycopene in it, which is an antioxidant, and it's really good for prostate health. So all those men out there, you really want to eat some tomatoes. You need that lycopene. Tomatoes are also good for decreasing the risk of heart disease. And heart disease is very prevalent in women. So not only for men is it good for your prostate, but women and men, it's good for lowering your risk of heart disease. So we're just chopping these up into pieces here. And again, you can chop them however big or small you want. It's a personal preference for the casserole. And we're going to just leave those to the side. Now this part of the tomato is still good, so I'm going to cut around the core. And this helps reduce your food waste. Alright, so next I'm going to get my onion ready. So to cut an onion, you put the roots side down and you cut the onion in half. And then you cut off this hairy part, not the root part, the hair part. And a way you can remember that is that you never cut the roots off from your family. You always remember where you come from your roots. And after we cut that hair side off, we're going to go ahead and peel off the skin or the outer layer. And then to dice our onion, we're going to put it flat side down. We're going to cut it in half this way. Just be careful, don't hit any of your fingers. And then you're going to go across this way. The smaller you slice this way, the smaller your pieces are going to turn out. And the larger, more spaced out, the larger you'll have those pieces. And then we'll go back and cut it across. And then we'll do the same thing for this side. We'll cut it in half. And we'll cut it across. And don't fight the vegetable. If the vegetable wants to turn on the flatter side to make it easier, let it turn. You always want to keep it flat. You have less chance of cutting your fingers. And then if you want to do a little more chopping, make them a little bit smaller, you can take your knife, hold it down by the tip, and just go across your pile of onions. Alright, my water's ready for my broccoli, so I'm going to add my 2 pounds of broccoli to the water. And I'm going to let it steam. So I'm going to put my lid on. And then I'm going to turn the temperature down to where it just simmers. And that's going to take about 4 minutes. Alright, so now that our broccoli has steamed for 4 minutes, it's ready to mix together with our tomatoes. So we're going to take our tomatoes. And put our broccoli in with those tomatoes. So this recipe is a really good example of eating the rainbow with our fruits and vegetables. We have green with our broccoli, we have red with our tomatoes, and we have white with our onion. And each color has its own benefit. Okay, so we're just going to mix the tomato and the broccoli together. And we're going to pour it into our 9x13 casserole dish. Make sure you spray it really well. It will make your cleanup much easier. Whoa. Pour the broccoli and tomato mix into the casserole dish and mix it up a little bit more since I have more room now. Just mix it to where your tomatoes and your broccoli are evenly distributed. Alright, now we're going to move on to cooking our onions. Alright, so now we're going to move on to cooking our onions. So put a little bit of oil in the skillet and add your onions. Turn your heat up till you start hearing them simmer. And you can use the same skillet or pot or pan that you use to steam the broccoli if you want to, because it's all the same recipe. It's all going in the same place. So while the onions are starting to cook, you're going to cook the onion until they're translucent or clear, where you can see through them. So while those are cooking, we're going to move on to our mixture of cornstarch, salt and pepper, and almond milk. So this mixture is a thickening mixture. It's a mixture that you're going to use that will keep your casserole kind of stuck together, give it that casserole feel of when you cut it out, it's all one piece. So for our thickening mixture, we need our almond milk. We need a cup of almond milk. So when you're measuring liquids, make sure you use the liquid measuring cup and not necessarily the solid measuring cups. So anytime it's a liquid measuring cup, and almond milk's a liquid. So we're gonna do a 1/3 cup of almond milk. Or 1 cup, sorry. Recipe calls for 1 cup. We're gonna pour our 1 cup in there, pour it into our bowl. Then we're gonna add our cornstarch. Calls for 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. So grab our 1 tablespoon, get our cornstarch out, add it to the mixture. Then we're gonna add our salt and pepper. But first I'm gonna check on this onion mixture here. I can hear it sizzling. Give it a little stir. It's not quite done yet. We're gonna add our salt and pepper. So we need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt and a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. So get your 1/4 teaspoon, measure out a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then we're gonna whisk this together and we're gonna set it aside until our onions are ready. Because once our onions are ready, we're gonna put this in the skillet and we're gonna cook it over medium to high heat until it starts to thicken. So now checking back on our onions, they're just about ready. Just a few more, maybe a minute or 2. So typically it will take onions about 4 minutes to get that translucent look, but it could be anywhere from 3 to 5. Okay, looking good. So we're going to transfer our onions to our casserole dish on top of the broccoli and tomatoes. And then I'm going to heat up our thickening mixture until it gets a little thick. Last few little bit out here. So you just want to make sure you've whisked it up real good. I'm going to turn my heat down just a little bit. And then you're just going to whisk it in here until it gets a little thick. And you'll feel it thicken up. So you can see it start to boil a little bit, bubble up. It's starting to get a little thick. Just keep whisking it around. You do not need a skillet this size to do this. You can do it in a small saucepan. Alright, looks like it's thick. I'm going to turn it off. And I'm going to pour it over our casserole here. So you want to just try to pour it evenly around your casserole. scrape all of it out. Okay. And then just kind of spread it around where it's over the top of it. You're not really mixing it in, you're just kind of spreading it around. Alright, and then we're going to do our breadcrumbs. So you can either toast your breadcrumbs a little bit before you put them on, but I just put them straight on because they get toasty in the oven. You can do whatever you prefer at home. So we're going to put 2 tablespoons of breadcrumbs on top. So we get our tablespoon, and we have 1 and 2. And just sprinkle it on top there till it's covered evenly. And now we're gonna go stick this in our preheated 350-degree oven, and it's gonna cook for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, we're gonna take it out. We're gonna sprinkle a 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese on it. Sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle evenly over it. And then we're gonna put it back in our oven for 10 minutes. So now that our broccoli and tomato casserole has cooked in the oven for a full 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and then 10 minutes with the cheese, this is our final product. Put it on a plate for you here. So this, you can make it a My Plate meal by adding a protein, a lean protein like chicken, fish, or turkey, and a side of whole grain like a whole grain roll, bread, quinoa, or rice, or your grain of choice. And then you'll have your meal. Enjoy!